Um, I'm excited to have these people speak. So without further ado, next slide, Lori. I'm going to turn it over to our moderator, Jamal Bowen, and he will get us started. Jamal?
Oh, thank you, Solomon. On behalf of ALG and Papa, we welcome you all. Thank you for joining us. Today is going to be an insightful day for you all. We're going to enjoy what's going on, but we're also going to get the resources and things that we need. And so I'm very excited. So I'm going to go into marketing your business. Marketing your business is essential. During this COVID-19 pandemic, we've all faced adversity. We've all been affected one way or another. 2020 has already presented challenges, but it's all about finding solutions. So how you market your business determines your success or failure. Marketing is how you communicate your business to your customers, but also your business is a representation of you. And so, for example, I would like to use my mother-in-law, Marian Boston of Creative Solutions, and how she's used social media outlets to promote her business through digital printing, graphic design, branding, marketing, flyers, live events, etc. So during this time, they have found solutions on still to promote their business and still reach out to their customers. And also, it allows you to maintain those long-lasting relationships. Relationships with your customers is an ongoing strategy that helps businesses flourish and engages the customer. So when you're marketing, you want to be able to engage with your customer. And so it creates local awareness and establishes a network. And so those are things you have to look at when you're looking at marketing. There's different revenues, there's different aspects that can be used, but also when you're marketing, you have to be sincere about it, but also you have to know who you're reaching out to. And so create change and educate your community is the biggest goal. And so further ado, let's go into Ms. Maricela.
Thank you, Jamal. Thank you for inviting me here. I'm very glad to be here and with this great community. So I work for World Trade Center Denver, where we are developing some alternatives or some opportunities for people that is developing business. So I wanted to share with you how we are working with this program and the way that you can join and reinforce your business for the future. Next slide, please. A year and a half ago, we created a program to try to educate some immigrants and refugees and how to develop international business, talking about imports and exports. This program, we started just to stimulate and using our training that we have been developing at the World Trade Center for more than 30 years. We educate people that it is in international business for a long time. So we are putting at this point all that training to make it more access for our immigrants and refugees. This program aims to try to design, create, or improve your export or import business. So if you are thinking that you have an opportunity with your home country, that people is interested in to buy some products from here, or you wanted to bring products from your country to the US, we can help you to create that business in terms of to do a business plan. And we work with many of our partnership to guide you step by step on the way. So we help you to create your business plan with the help of mentors, with people that from World Trade Center membership that have been developing this type of business for a long time can work with you one-on-one and guide you step by step. Also, we have many universities with our partnerships, so their students are helping us to put every participant, working with them to put these ideas together. So through the program, what we are providing is training on business plan development, financial plan, marketing and branding, which is topics of our panel, and a legal structure with mentors, with students, assistants, and help of financial application support and start your activity support. The thing is, after you finish your business plan with us, we have several financial institutions. One of them says that it will be, Grant will be talking about that later on, but we present you to this institution so you can explore your alternatives for to have some financials for start your business. And after that, we have many other activities also that we can support in terms to your business plan, to develop your website, to develop your marketing plan. The marketing today is one thing that we are focusing and we got lucky that in February of this year, we got an agreement with Google. Google has a program called Grow with Google Business, which has a lot of different tools in internet that are all free for small businesses. So taking the advantage of that, we are training our people pretty much every 2 weeks. Now we are doing everything online to tell how the small businesses can create their profile in Google. So when the people is looking for different businesses or alternatives, like any of us are looking for a restaurant, you go to Google search and Google will show you and show your business as an opportunity for everyone else. So this Tuesday, we are doing our second training that will be how you can use YouTube to promote your business. So we are going to teach everybody how to create a YouTube channel, how to create the videos, and how you can get to your customers more directly. So I wanted to emphasize in this is a program that we will be running during the whole year, every 2 or 3 weeks. This is under the Global Trade Activator program, and all the all the Google program is dedicated not just for people on import and export. It's for any kind of business, a small startup that wanted to learn how to promote their business in the media and create their marketing plan. So I want to invite you, if you are interested in to know more about this program, I am open and happy to talk about it. If you think that maybe my business is not fitting in this program, let's talk first, and now we can tell you how is the way that we can help you, because we do a first interview to know exactly where is the step that you are and how is the way that we can help you. So conversation first before to start the program is always welcome. There is my email. Lori will be sending the link for this training for Google program, which is absolutely free. You can join us online, and any further questions, I will be available. Like I said, and like Jamal introduced this the beginning, marketing your business is essential today, and we have so many tools. They are free, they are easy to use, so come to us to learn a little more about that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Maricela. Now we're going to go into Miss Rosie.
Hi, Jamal. My name is Rosie McDonough. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here this morning. Thank you, Papa and the African Leadership Group for allowing us to be here. We are housed at the Office of Economic Development and International Trade, but we are one of the offices of the governor. So what we want to do today is we want to give you information about some other areas within marketing that your business can go into, but this has to be a conscious decision. I think Maricela was talking about the international area, how can you take your business to other countries, your product, your service, and things like that. Jamal was talking about, what are some of the basics that we do in marketing to promote our business. We have to, as a business, decide what is the most important thing that we can do in order to promote the business, to gather more clients and things like that. So in my view, and as a business owner, my experience, marketing to the government has to be a conscious decision from the business to say, okay, I'm going to now market to government entities, and I'm going to open another stream of revenue within my business. So I can not only do B2B or business to business, B2C, business to consumer. Now I'm going to be doing B2G, which is business to government. So how is it different? Well, it is very different. You know, just marketing to local agencies or federal agencies or state agencies is completely different. So there's a lot of different ways that we can approach this effort. And the Minority Business Office is here to assist you, to help you. We offer no-cost consulting for this purpose, and we have various consultants. As a matter of fact, Caroline Terrell is here on the line with us. Various consultants that have a lot of experience in different areas and can help you equip your business with the best tools to respond to some of those opportunities in the form of a bid response, in form of responding to an RFP or an RFQ, and all of those acronyms we're going to educate you on, because you have to know exactly what they mean, and we will be happy to do that at no cost for you. So in order to do this, to work with the government, what we suggest is that you consider getting your business certified. You can get your business certified as a minority, women, or veteran-owned business, and the certifications can be done at the federal, state, or local level. What I would prefer to do is, instead of just throwing you in the process of, putting together all the paperwork to do this, I prefer to sit down with clients and say, what do you sell? Do you sell a cup for coffee, or do you sell, headphones, or do you sell notebooks, or do you sell paper or toilet paper or other supplies that different agencies can use? So let's think about, what do you sell? What is your product? What is your service? It could be a service. It doesn't need to be a product. And then based on that, let's figure out what's the best certification for you. So marketing to the government, let me step back a little bit. Certifying your company helps you leveling the playing field. It also limits your competition. It allows you also to develop some subcontracting relationships. There are some programs that you can take advantage that are partnerships and mentor protege type of programs. What does that mean? It means you can learn from people that have been doing this for a while, and they can guide you through the process. And believe it or not, there's a lot of people out there that would like to share their knowledge, and that will be very, very happy to take you with them alongside within that road. Then, doing business with other certified companies. Sometimes there's a contract that is too big, that there has to be two companies going at one contract together. So that means other relationships with other companies. So, working with the government opens up a lot of different opportunities. You just have to kind of take it easy, be patient. Just like in any effort of expansion in your business, when you go international, Maricela, I see her kind of nodding her head, it takes time, it takes effort, it takes patience, because the first thing may not work. You may have to move on the second one. And then Jamal was talking about, flyers. He was talking about, pamphlets or collateral materials and things like that. Those may not work anymore for certain businesses. So in business, you have to be able to learn from what doesn't work and then move on to maybe what will work. So that's one of the things. So the three main areas in marketing to the government is electronic portals. As you can see, there's different, I'm gonna talk to you a little bit more about this, but to understand and target advertised solicitations from databases, we have databases such as BidNet, Federal Business Opportunities, the Colorado Vendor Self-Service System. Then we have CDOT using another portal. So what you have to do is, I don't know if you're familiar with SAM, the System for Award Management, getting your DONS number for your business. We can direct you in all of those different things, but these are areas in which people go in, they put their business information, and then the government agencies know where they are. Events and networking is really important, and you have to know which ones are more effective than others. And origination is the process to directly marketing to governmental entities. Let's go on to the next slide. Lori, I'm not sure I'm gonna have time to cover all of these. So there's two types of opportunities. There's the ones that you originate, you create by marketing directly to the agency. And the second one is the one that's solicited by the agency. When the agency makes a decision that they need a product or a service, and then they put it out there and they said, we need, someone to build the $1 million highway, or we need someone that will give us products or supplies for these 10 offices. That's when the agency solicited. Let's go on to the next slide. So this is sort of complicated. This is the certifications that we have in the state, within the state of Colorado. I don't want you to feel overwhelmed. We can help you with this. We can guide you through the process. We can make sure that you know exactly which one you need to start with, and it's going to be at no cost. Next slide, Lori. Okay, the purchasing and how does the purchasing take place? Well, you can see it there. There's a blanket purchasing agreements. There's public-private partnerships. There's indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity. And I'm not going to get into a lot of detail, but I want to give you an example. So this is, how does the agency purchase my product or services? Well, there's an agency says, well, are you DBE certified? And when an agency says, yes, I am DBE certified, when a company says, yes, I'm DBE certified, there could be a corporate agreement or a blanket purchase agreement. And you can be in it for about 3, 4, or 5 years. And I'm explaining it very, very simple and very fast, because I know that I am probably over time. But if you have any more questions about these, a lot of you have heard about a PO, a purchase order, or an RFP or an RFQ, things like that. So let us know how we can help you with that. Next, Lori. Okay, this is the basic acquisition process, and I hope Lori is going to share this slide with people. So this is just for you to see how the purchasing process takes place. It's not simple, absolutely, I agree with you. But hey, once you know it, once you do it 2 or 3 times, you're gonna be much better at it. So I just want you to make sure that you know what the steps are, what is next, what expects next. So this is important. Next one, Lori. So different types of agencies have different types of requirements, and they also use different portals. So you can see there's Rocky Mountain, there is the VSS, there SUSS. There's public portals that take no money for you to be in there, and they can also send you notifications when opportunities arise within your industry. So I think it's important that you know all of these, and if Lori sends you this slide, it has links in all of the blue portions of the portals for you to log in, figure out what information you need to provide, and things like that. Next, I think okay, this is the best one. This is who we are. This is how we can help you. I think you're seeing it on the left. There's me, Ulysses, and Soraya, and we are in the office. And then we have our fantastic team of consultants. We have Talia, Caroline, Mark, Andrea, and Roy. And we have different languages within our team. We have English, Spanish, we have Somali. Soraya speaks Somali. And with us this morning, we have Caroline Terrell. I'm not sure if she's gonna be able to talk to you, but I'm gonna put some information in the chat with Caroline's email, so she can, if you wanna request consulting with us and you wanna request to talk to Caroline Terrell, please do so. She is one of the most knowledgeable consultants we have right now in the area of government contracting. She worked for the SBA organization for many, many years and in different capacities. So she knows SBA up and down, and she has some really great contacts that can help you. I don't know how much over I was, Lori, but I'm done.
All right, thank you so much, Rosie. And as you can see, those are valuable information. Now, I just want to remind everyone, this is a panel format, and please chat in your question now because we're going to compile them. And at the end of the presentation, we'll go over your questions. So please keep those questions coming because we want to hear from you, but the speakers will have a chance to answer to everybody's question at the end. We wanted to get the speakers out of the way so we have enough time for questions. Please keep those questions coming. I just want to remind you, there's a raffle. There's prize up to $500 and some valuable class that you can take. So please get your fast finger ready because the raffle will be coming. I think it's after this panel or the third one, but Miss Laurie will come and make the announcement. Now, if you are a winner of the raffle and you play, you have to stay until the end to get your prize. So now I'll turn it back to our moderator. And again, if you are streaming live on Facebook, you can definitely participate and send in your questions. So Jamal, go ahead and introduce the panel 2, and thank you.
Yes, so panel 2, business grants and loans. So we have Mark, Solomon, Agraj, and Rosie. And so we all want funding. Where's the money, right? So greater opportunities and ways to finance what you need for your business. So let's go into Mark.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for the invitation to speak today to the Business Summit. As Solomon said earlier, I am a coworker, we're fellow peer, and I focus primarily on the SBA program as a business development officer with Midwest One Bank. Today, I just really wanted to cover the CARES Act, the Coronavirus Aid and Economic Security Act of 2020. That encompasses the Paycheck Protection Program, the Economic Injury Disaster Program, which is EIDL, and also the SBA 504 and 7A programs with payment assistance. Solomon's going to speak briefly on the Main Street Loan Program, which is also part of it, the direct program. The Paycheck Protection Program is wrapping up from an application standpoint. That program will be ending Tuesday on the 30th. Midwest One Bank is going to accept applications up to the 29th, which is the Monday at 11 a.m. So most banks have already stopped taking applications and they're focusing on the forgiveness part, which I'll cover later. But just a quick overview of the Paycheck Protection Program is primarily for businesses with employees under 500 employees. And it's primarily for the 2.5 times the payroll, along with other costs, such as rent, utilities, even mortgage, for a loan rate of 2%. And it's up to $10 million, this loan program. The loan term is 2 years and has been extended up to 5 years. The interesting part of this is there's been some changes, and that was one of them, the 5-year extension. Also, the original program was only for 8 weeks. It has been extended to 24 weeks. So that would be very beneficial for a lot of people. The PPP program is retroactive to February 15th of 2020. So it goes back. So people were worried about, right when this actually started, the virus and the quarantine and the economic shutdown, it went all the way back to February 15th. And under the PPP program, there's no personal guarantees, which is very, very beneficial to a lot of businesses that have guarantees on loans and are stressed. And this is the primary assistance to relieve that stress, which everybody needed. The Economic Industry Disaster Loan Program, or EIDL, the loan program is up to $2 million in loan amounts for 30-year terms. Interest rates are 3 3/4 for small businesses. For nonprofits, it was 2 3/4, which is very beneficial. The first 12 months the first payment is 12 months from the actual note date, and Loans under 200,000 could be done without personal guarantees, and then loans above would be. And this, there can be, for loans over $25,000, the SBA can include inventory equipment for intangible and tangible property, personal property. So there is some kind of, exposure, I guess, from, what a company puts on the line that the SBA might lay claim to after the loan, or if the loan goes in default. The last program, which is the SBA two programs actually, the SBA 504 program and the 7A program. The 7A program is a working capital type structure for loans up to 5 million. And the SBA 504 program is primarily for real estate. So one really focuses on working capital, the other one real estate. How the CARES Act has helped these two programs. For more information on those, you can contact me or Solomon, no problem. But the way that the CARES Act has covered these two programs is for 6 months, the SBA has been making payments and are forgiven automatically. And the notes will not extend the mortgages on these loans for 6 months. So, and it should not be a taxable event. So, if this during this period of time, that 6 months period rides, they're not going to tack it on to the back end of the loan. So very beneficial, very much a gift to those existing SBA small businesses that have these two programs. And it's very beneficial to this country, at least from an economic standpoint. So I'm going to hand that off to Solomon to cover the Main Street Loan Program. Solomon?
Thanks, Mark. Really good job giving an overview of the resources the government has availed to businesses during this COVID crisis. And it's been really important to avoid an economic meltdown for small businesses and entrepreneurs. So thank you very much. I'm going to talk about more on the conventional side, again, under the COVID resources, both federal and also banks individually, but specifically our bank, what we've done to help out for businesses facing continued challenges or any economic fallout due to the COVID crisis. So one of the things that has been worked on, the Federal Reserve came up with a program called Main Street Lending Program. It's not as well known as the PPP and the EIDL programs, but it was established by the Federal Reserve to support lending to small and medium-sized businesses that are in sound financial condition before the onset. So obviously you have to be making money, you have to be profitable and all that. But then all of a sudden, due to reasons beyond your control, with this crisis, you're facing challenges. And there are 3 facilities that are being offered. One is called the Main Street New Loan Facility, MSNLF, the Main Street Priority Loan Facility, MSPLF, and the Main Street Expanded Loan Facility, MSELF. So what it is these facilities are basically providing funds to purchase any loans made by banks. I think initially the program was starting at 500,000. There was a lot of pushback. They've lowered that to 250, and I believe it's going up to, I cannot remember, I think 20 million. So it's a fairly large size program, and it's providing fully amortizing loan, well, not fully amortizing, but term loans up to 5 years. But for the first 2 years, there won't be any principal interest payments. And then the whole idea is to provide a lower interest loan to refinance any debt that a business has. The first 2 years, the principal and interest payments are not being are not due. So the interesting thing about this and the challenges, there's a lot of banks, particularly our bank, is facing the challenges. They don't allow you to refinance your own debt. So if you have debt already with your existing bank, you can't go and say, hey, can I roll that into this facility? So it's an interesting program. I think what its real intent is if a company comes and needs either working capital, wants to purchase new equipment, or wants to take on new debt by a building, this is a facility that will allow them to get a loan. And the bank advances the loan under this program or purchase equipment. Mostly it's equipment because, again, it's, like I said, it's a 5-year program. And then it allows it not to make any payments for 2 years, and then eventually refinance it out, and the interest rates are fairly low. In addition, the Federal Reserve has, and the Department of Treasury are also setting up kind of similar facilities to support lending to nonprofit organizations. So that will be called the Nonprofit Organization New Loan Facility and the Nonprofit Expanded Loan Facility. So outside of those federal government supported programs to help during COVID or afterwards, banks have also been fairly, Midwest One especially, has been fairly aggressive in recognizing that businesses are going to be impacted. So what they did right off the top, right off the beginning, right after the crisis and the shutdown, the quarantine took place, we looked at all our existing loan portfolios and said, if a client picks up the phone, calls us and says, hey, I'm having challenges, my business was shut down, and I cannot be able to make payments, so it's putting me under duress to continue making the payments. As a free mulligan, no questions asked, we processed in just a matter of days a 90-day deferral, principal and interest payments, or some of them were just deferring their principal payment because the interest will be cut twice at the end that they did not want to extend or increase their loan amount. That was just what we call just a mulligan. It was a freebie, any business will get it. Now, we do recognize that 90 days is nothing because as everybody knows, the impact is continuing. The impact might be long-term for some businesses. Other businesses might not make it at all. So, so case by case, our next phase of the deferment is we'll continue looking at businesses that request, and we'll see after we understand the actual impact on their business, we'll continue looking at extending this deferment up to 6 months in some cases, but we're looking at it case by case. I know a lot of banks are doing this, so I'm just putting the information out there for small business owners and businesses to not be shy or shy away from picking up the phone and calling your bank and requesting for this help. And if that doesn't work and your bank is uncooperative, you can look at contacting a different bank and inquiring about refinancing that same debt under the Main Street Lending Program, which is basically allowing banks to make these loans, and the Federal Reserve will turn around and buy these loans, so create capital for the bank. So it's through the bank, you don't call the Federal Reserve. Next slide, please. So I would like to reintroduce Mark, who's going to be covering the recent changes to the PPP loan program and the specific impact to the loan forgiveness. Mark?
Thank you, thank you, Solomon. Again, some of the things that have been going on, and this is an ongoing changing way. If we go back into quarantine 2.0, there might be some more additions to these programs, but as it stands, these are changes that have been made because we extended this period of time. The actual old program covered the PPP program for 8 weeks. Now it is up to 24 weeks, as I stated earlier. The loan, these are probably the main 3 things that I'm going to mention here. The loan program was 2 years originally. Now it's 5 years as far as a term. If you're still wanting to go into the 2 years, you're still allowed to pay the loan off in the 2-year period. But right now they've extended to 5 years because, you know, that time frame when we initially rolled out this program, not only did they make these changes here, but they increased the amounts as well to allow more businesses to participate because they ran out of funds so quickly. The other key main element of this was 75% was for your payroll, which meant 25% would be for non-payroll items. Again, and as I mentioned, that could be utilities, rent, mortgage, etc. Now, under the new change, is 40%. So 60% directed to your payroll, 40% for non-payroll items. Again, the 60% is what they say is going to be the forgiven part, but actually it's a calculation that you might even get more than that, and I can discuss that at a later date. The actual calculations, or Solomon can assist as well. There's actually a calculator that actually looks into that. So, you know, there's a lot of, those are the main issues there. You know, as far as the tax event that we can't really discuss because you really want to talk to your CPA or someone on the panel here regarding questions regarding taxes and legal advice as well. So you might want to, you know, inquire there instead of getting it off the internet, because these are knowledgeable people that have been focusing on this program, like our company, and helping a lot of people. But we do it from a structural basis directly to the SBA, and just really wanted to cover it from that standpoint. So thank you. The second part, or do you want me to go into that? Yes. The calculations, or is that what you is the next program there, Solomon? The safe harbor as well is mentioned as well, because there's some businesses that are actually looking at this from a standpoint of, you know, what if I didn't have employees that were that came and went, or I had to rehire employees? There's coverage there from a standpoint of that the government's going to give you that kind of coverage and latitude, I guess, so to speak.
Yeah, Mark, thank you for covering that. More details will be discussed by Tayo under the safe harbor as a law, but that was just a quick overview that we want to introduce as one of the changes.
Right.
Next
So
slide.
second thing is documentation that you're going to need to apply. Bank account statements, tax forms, payment receipts, and canceled checks. Those are all very important things to have available. There might be some things that they don't ask you for, but may, in case there is an inquiry into your loan or your application or your original application and your forgiveness application. So make sure you're very thorough in your documentation as far as salary, wages go and bank statements go, because utility payments are also going to probably be requested if you're going to use that money that's not used for payroll to these other areas within your business. So it's very important to keep a very documented and available information in case they request that. So really want to cover that just from a very high level, because you know there's some items that are actually going to change based on the size of the loan. Loans over $2 million are going to be more scrutinized than loans under $2 million. So I just really want to cover that really quick. So that's it for me.
Thank you, Solomon and Mark. Let's go ahead and go into Mr. Agraj.
You're muted. You're muted. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Technology. Okay, thank you for having me here. I'll be briefly explaining about our products and what CEDS is, and what have we been doing at this time of crisis. So to start with, CEDS Finance is it was established in 2009 as a microlender, but we actually started lending in 2011. And we support the American dreams of financial self-sufficiency, majorly cater refugee, immigrant, and underserved population. These are like, we have a mixed portfolio of refugee, underserved community, US-born, and immigrant population. And what we normally offer is a business loan, which is the normal interest-bearing loan, but then those who cannot comply with the regulations and then meet the requirement for normal banking regulations, we are a CDFI, Community Development Financial Institution, who caters that population. And our another unique product is Islamic compliant debt. A lot of our clients are Muslims and who do not think that loan and interest is a good thing to have. It is considered haram in Islam in a lot of ways. And then we do a riba-free loan as well. So this is a big chunk of our portfolio, about, I would say 35 to 36% of our portfolio. And we do a lot of community partnership because one of the key aspects for us is not only lending, it is also supporting business throughout their journey. So, and we don't have every resources in-house. So we partner with organizations like World Trade Center Denver, United Business Advisory Group from Mile High United Way, Mikasa Resource Center, Rocky Mountain Microfinance Institution, and a lot of other those agencies to support our entrepreneurs. And also we do pre and post loan technical assistance. So you don't have to be a client with CEDS to have that kind of technical assistance. As much as we can provide in-house, we do that, but if not, then we refer them to other community partners. So these are the things that we do in normal course of business, but what are we doing in COVID specific time, right? So first of all, we are focusing on our existing clients. We are offering them resilience loan. These are like fast going loans. These are, you don't have to wait a long time. You've already established a relationship with us, and then these are up to $10,000 loans. So you can come to us, and then we can expedite the process and then get it out of the door pretty quickly. And then another thing that we are doing here is we are doing loan deferments for up to 3 months, depending on how client wishes. So these are principal and interest deferments for our existing clients. And also we are facilitating, similar to the SBA 7A and 504 loans. We are a micro lender with SBA. So SBA is making 6 months of payments for the client. So we are facilitating that communication with the client as well, and making sure the client gets correct information. And not everyone is has zero business going on. So those of whom who are still able to make some kind of contribution to their loan, we are making sure how they can make sure that that payment is going towards and not affecting their SBA payment. So we are facilitating that as well. And there are a lot of, we work with an area of funders. So there are a lot of foundations who we are working to make sure that the client payments are made. That is a work in progress, but one of them, Rocky Mountain Microfinance Institution, we are working with them on a joint partnership, and they are making payments for about 9 months for the clients. And also we are working with City and County of Denver for the Denver microloan program. Those of whom who did not get into the grant program with the City and County of Denver, they have been referred to the microloan program. So we are facilitating that for the City and County of Denver as well. And in addition to that, we are also working with the City of Aurora for the Aurora Economic Relief Loan Program, where the city has the funds, and we are administering and under reviewing the loan application, not the grants, but the loan application for the City of Aurora. We send them our recommendation, we do our due diligence, and then send it to the City of Aurora. And besides all of these, we are also providing technical assistance because we are all working remotely right now, and then technical assistance is also done through phone conversations or Zoom or whatever media tools we have. So we are doing and searching for new opportunities to serve our community better. That's pretty much it from me right now.
All right, thank you, Agraj. Now let's go into Rosie.
Good morning. We can go on to the next slide, Lori. Thank you. I'll try to stay on time this time. So a lot of you heard this morning, this week, the governor signed two different bills, SB 20-222, the use of CARE money for small business grant program, and HB 20-1413, small business recovery loan program, premium tax credits. So these are very, very important parts of information, and I have put in front of you some of the details. OEDIT has partnered with Energize Colorado, the community banks and microlenders to assist small businesses with different characteristics to create a program and distribute funds to businesses experiencing hardship due to COVID-19, the pandemic. So who are the recipients for these? You can see them right there on the right-hand side of the slide. Basically, small businesses owned by businesses owned by minorities, by women and veterans that were hardly hit by COVID-19. And what we are looking to do is we're looking to help with two different areas. There are loans up to $15,000, and there's a grant component for up to $20,000. Combined total of about $35,000, depending on the needs for assistance from the business. And depending on every unique situation, the GAP Fund is going to allocate the help based on the need for the business. So if we can go to the next slide, Lori, please. So these are some of the characteristics that we have up as of today for this loan. The maturity rate is between 24 and 36 months. The interest rate is for the initial 12 months, 1%. And then after 12 months, you know, if the loan is up to 36 months, is 1.5%. There's a maximum of 4 months of payment deferment for these loans. And then the eligibility, you know, you can be a sole proprietor, you can be a registered nonprofit or for-profit entity. You have to have fewer than 25 employees, full-time equivalents. And an employer must use the off-season employee count. And then you have to have been affected by the hardship caused by COVID-19 during the period of March 1st and December 30, 2020. And I'm sure we can find plenty of businesses that are in that situation. You have to be able to demonstrate economic hardship through the business, through documents, through bank records, to point of sale receipts, profit and loss statements, or any other documentation that will demonstrate economic harm. The types of economic hardships that will qualify for assistance, you know, we're still kind of like putting together all the details for this program, but the main ones that we have identified is the cost of business interruption caused by voluntary closures, the cost of implementing social distancing measures, the loss of revenues from disease, decrease of customers and sales, hopefully not disease employees or anything like that. I'm so sorry to use that word. So the preference is going to be given to companies that did not qualify for the PPP program or EIDL, like Solomon was talking about. So basically, this is a GAP fund. This is a fund that seeks to help companies that were not allowed to participate in the SBA programs. So also where the preference will be given to majority owned by veterans, by women and minorities, or businesses that are located in rural areas. Also, other businesses that have been really considered on this program is businesses in the tourism area that have been hardly affected by, you know, the closures and everything that has happened through the pandemic. Rural areas, it's kind of hard to define what is a rural area, right? So we came up with a criteria is a county with a population of less than 50,000 people, or a municipality with a population of less than 50,000 people that is located 10 miles or more from a municipality with a population of more than 50,000 people. So there's a lot of little towns in Colorado that are maybe next to Boulder, right? But they have less than 50,000 people. So what we are trying to do is we're trying to figure out how to include some of those towns. Also businesses that are in the unincorporated part of a county located 10 miles or more from a municipality with a population of more than 50,000 people. There's a lot of people in that situation. You want to go next, Lori? Next slide. So this is just a pretty general diagram of how the money will flow. CHAFA is the administrative organization for these funds, and CHAFA is going to be working directly with all of the CDFIs and microlenders in Colorado to basically allocate the funds for these. So you can apply right now. Unfortunately, you cannot apply yet, but we are working very hard on getting the portal ready for the application process. But you can apply through the Energize Colorado website during July. During the month of July, like I said, we're working very hard into standing up this vehicle for you to start applying. You will be notified when this is open through the Minority Business Office newsletters, and then also the Office of Economic Development and International Trade has a COVID-19 email update that you can opt in. Same thing with the Minority Business Office. We recommend that you can sign in for updates. We recommend gathering as many details about your sole proprietorship, your business, your nonprofit, and how it has been affected with COVID-19 in preparation for all of these process. So let us know how we can help you. Lori, we can talk about the next one. Just go in here. So the second bill that was signed also this week, we have, hold on one second. I apologize. I am getting into my slides here. Okay. So this slide talks about the Climber Fund, and Climber stands for Colorado Loans for Improving Main Street Business Economic Recovery. And this is a fund that is even newer than the first one that I mentioned to you. It also seeks to provide relief to Colorado small and medium-sized businesses. This fund is for up to $250 million. And it was created initially by the first $50 million created by the lost capital from the state tax credits, and $200 million come from bank funding raised by private volunteers. The loans can be up to $500,000 for working capital for companies between 5 and 99 employees. And what we believe is this fund will be available between September and October. This is coming behind the Energize Colorado Fund. And we are also working on that fund loan. We have less details about that because it's a little bit behind in the process, but if you sign up for the newsletters, either via OEDIT or the Minority Business Office, you will receive some of the information here for these funds. The Minority Business Office is going to be doing a lot of outreach to our minority communities for both programs, and we hope to be a good vehicle for you to get connected with this assistance. If you have any questions, please send them to the chat.
Thank you so much, Rosie, and thank you for all the speakers. And just a reminder, we have a lot of questions coming in, and speakers, you get ready. We definitely want to make sure we allocate enough time on the back end so people can ask their question. Please use the chat and to send your question. And also, I want you to thank all the community that are joining us. I see you all. But also, just know the African Leadership Group goes beyond the United States. Donc, je voulais dire bonjour à nos amis qui sont là depuis la France, depuis le Sénégal, Alpha, Yahoub, Ibou. Un petit bonjour et merci d'être parmi nous. So thank you so much for people that are following us on Facebook Live. Also, thank you. You can send your participation. Now it's time, I think, Lori, for the first raffle. And now I want to thank for all the companies that contribute and donate, and Laurie will tell you more about the raffle, how it's going to work. But I can ask you now, get your fast fingers ready. Laurie, how the raffle going to work? The floor is yours. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Papa and panelists. So as Papa has shared with you, we have 2 raffle drawings, and I'm gonna give you the instructions one time. We will have you chat your number in, but I'm gonna give you a range. So you're gonna chat a range in, and I'm gonna give that range to you in just a minute. When you chat your number in, we will let you, or we will make sure that the first one that chats in either the number that's closest to the number or has that number, we're gonna check the timestamp. So there may be 2 or 3 people with the same number, but that's okay. The first number with the timestamp wins. So the number is pre-selected by me. So the team doesn't even know what the number is. And the winner will be selected the winner will be selected and then announced at the end. So you'll have 20 seconds to chat in your number. Miriam will be our timekeeper. And when she says go, then that's when the time will start. All right, so I'm gonna show you the range. Here is the range. So again, I'm gonna give you the range, and 20 seconds, we're gonna say time, and then we're gonna announce the winner. Look at the amazing, amazing prizes. And all of this is worth over $400 for this raffle. Are we ready? Here's the range.
No, yeah, here's the range. Okay, good.
Wait. Here's the range. Look at it, give you a quick second, look the range between 10 and 500. 10 and 500, all right? Okay, come on, Miriam, ready? The floor is yours. Give us 5 minutes left. 20 seconds, guys, or 5 seconds left.
And make sure you don't send your number to private. Some people are sending their number private text to me. Make sure you send it to everyone,
5,
please.
4, 3, 2, 1, time.
All right, time. Now I will bring up the winning number. Ready? 10 and 500. Winning number, raffle 1.
124. So we have a winner, 124. And now, Laurie, could you just give a shout out to the organization that donated this raffle, please?
The organization, the World Trade Center, Denver, Midwest One Bank, Aquande LLP, Empowering Community Entrepreneurs, and TBK Bank.
Well, thank you so much. The lucky number is 124 and will be announced at the end of the presentation. All right, we'll move along, and then the one more raffle. If this was not your lucky time, so just know there's another one, and obviously that one is bigger. So just stick around, and hopefully you will be the next winner. So I was not able to participate on any of this. Laurie decided that I'm not part of it, so too bad for me. All right, I'll turn it over to Jamal. That's going to be introducing us the panel 3. That's going to be talking about legal and tax issues. Jamal.
Yes, I hope you all are enjoying yourselves, taking some wonderful notes, but we're going to go into the legal and tax issues. And so my advice is that you should always be seeking legal and tax advice. And so we have Tony and Tayo. So we will start with Tony.
Hello, yeah, I'm Tony. Tony Primpon, CPA and enrolled agent. I'm actually going to talk about the effect of taxes as far as the covered programs are concerned. And as we all know, that there has been so many programs for the relief of the effects of COVID-19. And if you would agree with me, Internal Revenue has also come up with the filing extensions for individuals as well as businesses. And as you know, usually we end our tax filing on April 15th. This year, the tax has been, the tax period has actually been extended to July 15th, as you all know. And what does this mean? It means that you have to file your taxes and pay your taxes on this July 15th. So the business should know. And then also Internal Revenue has come up with deferred programs of payments for people and businesses that really pay for the that's Social Security taxes, which means that if your 941 originally is said to be paid at the end of each quarter, now the Internal Revenue has extended this time to the extent to about December 2020, 2022, December 2022. So we really have to take notes. And then also there has also been other programs, other payments that is going on that is called stimulus programs that is Internal Revenue has actually come about. And as we all know, each person is receiving $1,200 as adults, and the children under the age of 17 receiving $500 each. And there has been limitations as to how much you receive depending upon the income range in which you find yourself. So we really have to take note, which means that if you fall within an income above 75,000, this 1,200 might be reduced depending upon certain things. So we have to take note. And then also, we also know that these payments, it comes with certain conditions. You have to have filed your taxes for 2018 or 2019, which means that before you receive this payment, the stimulus payment of 1,200 or 500, you have to file your tax return for 2018 or 2019. There are some exceptions for people who are receiving Social Security. So we have to take note. And then also, if for some reason you cannot file, there's a non-filer form with Internal Revenue. When you go to irs.gov, you fill the form and you should be able to receive your monies. And these payments are going to go through all the whole year. And if for some reason you don't receive your payment this year, you can receive it on your taxes when you file your tax next year. So you have to take note of that. And then what we want to know is this. I know there are so many relief programs that are out there in order to reduce the COVID effect. And some of these things are involved, all these payments, either grants or loans or, the PPP, they all are connected through taxes, which means that you have to fulfill your requirement, tax requirements, in order to qualify for some of these things. Either PPP, either small business loans, or whether the grants that you're receiving. You have to take note that they are not just monies that are just given out because, the COVID is there, they're giving out. You have to fulfill the requirements in taxes. So in our offices, when people really come in, we sit down with them and we tell them the details. The business, you have to register it. You have to be able to have employees of payroll on your payroll, and you have to fulfill certain conditions and before you can actually be qualified for these loans. I think one other thing that I want to talk about is the implications, tax implications. What does this mean? I know so many people saying that there are loans out there, but who really do qualify for these loans? Is it for everybody, or is it for a certain group of people? And as we know, the financial groups will tell you, once you sit down with them, then you could see that the tax elements, in as much as you have to have your business well registered and well run. When I say well run, I mean you have to have your payroll set up. You have to pay 941s on time, and then you have to have a year end. You'll be surprised most of these people that come to our offices to would need assistance don't even know what these things mean. So I believe this is an thing for, all the people, all the businesses, individuals to really know how to run the businesses. And I also advise that some of these loans could be forgiven and depending upon certain conditions that you may meet. And as we all know, there has been reported cases of fraud, and IRS is doing so well to go after people who might have received these loans. For the purpose, not for the purpose that was actually meant for. So we have to be very careful. I know these loans are out there, but it is not for just for fun. That, oh, let me go in and apply for. Make sure you need it. Make sure the purpose for which you have said you want to use it for is actually fulfilled. So that is my advice. I know there has been so many legal advices concerning these loans, and I would actually leave it for Tayo when it comes to his time to actually expand on that. So I believe before you qualify, you should be able to make sure, you have, whatever it takes as a business owner or as a person. And some people may be surprised that even the small businesses as Uber drivers, the Lyft and Uber drivers, they all qualify for some of these loans. So you have to know what it takes to be able to qualify. And these are some of the things we do to help our people who come to our office to actually apply for the loans. And we also help in the financial statements, business financial statements. We help you to run your financial statements so to be able to qualify for these loans. So I think that is the bit I would say about the tax implications, and I would leave the legal aspects for Tayo to come in to just explain.
Thank you, Tony. All right, Tayo.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Tayo Okwande with Okwande LLP. Really happy to be here with you all. And, just as we've all tried to do is to provide you some information, helping you navigate through this COVID-19 and some of the business issues. And I hope you gained some information. Just a real quick plug here. I'm happy to be a part of this Business and Economic Opportunity Committee, but also as Papa mentioned initially, I'm also the ALG Legal Clinic Chair. And one of the things that we do, we try to help the community through a couple of ways. One is providing a free legal clinic the third Monday of every month, where anybody can register, and you can just, I think we're doing these by Zoom now, call in, and we'll have some volunteer attorneys that will be able to help you guide through your questions or answer some of the questions that you have. So the next one just is July 20th, but I just wanted to plug that before I get into my presentation. So what am I going to talk about today? As you've heard, there are a lot of federal and some state legislation that is obviously impacting the business. And so I will do my best. I have a lot of slides, and I know that ALG and Lori are going to provide you this information at the end of the presentation if they have your email. So I'm not going to go through all my slides, but I will do my best to try and go through some of the key terms and key, provisions with respect to this federal and some of the state statutes that are, or provisions that are out there. So the first one I just wanted to mention, it's still in play, is the Federal Families First Coronavirus Response Act. This is a law that was signed into, that became effective April 2020, basically mandating that employers that don't currently provide up to 12 weeks of paid family leave. And this applies to employers under 500 employees. There are some exceptions, obviously, but it basically expands the FMLA provisions. And Lori, if you can also go to the next slide. The second thing that the Family First Coronavirus Response Act of the FFCRA does is provide up to 80 hours of paid sick leave for employees. So this is just something that employers need to be aware of that's still in play. I believe it goes through the end of this year, December 2020. Lori, let me have you go to the slide that then talks about the CARES Act. Right there. So Mark and Solomon have sort of covered the basics of the CARES Act, and one thing I would say about that is the intent of Congress in passing this is to just flood the market, including businesses, small businesses, with the necessary cash to sort of make it through this coronavirus COVID-19 period. So one of the things that the CARES Act provides, in addition to the PPP that's been talked about, is also fund the state unemployment insurance programs. So, and that has a lot of different provisions that I'm not going to be able to get into today, but I just wanted to point that out to all our participants, that there are some money that is pumped into this. A lot of the programs under the unemployment provisions do expire January, or rather July 2020. So just if anybody has any questions, obviously I'll be happy to field some of those questions. Lori, if you can go to the next slide. What I want to talk to you about more is the new, I guess, extension to the PPP that Mark and Solomon alluded to, and some of the provisions, and specifically the safe harbor that have been put in place related to that. So the new provision is called the PPP Flexibility Act, and that, as you can see, came into effect on June 5 of 2020. Mark and Solomon touched on some of the basic changes that affected the PPP as it was enacted originally. But one of the things I wanted to talk about is my last bullet point on this slide here, which is the extension of the safe harbor for your hiring employees. Now, as you may be aware, the intent of the PPP is to have it convert from a loan to a grant. In order to do that, there's certain provisions that you needed to be met by the employer. One, as Mark alluded to, was essentially using the money for certain allocations, permitted purposes, including payroll and rent, utilities, et cetera, et cetera. And there's some percentages that need to be allocated there as well. So with respect to the safe harbor, the PPP provides that if, let's say, an employer loses or has to lay off employees because of COVID-19, then under the Flexibility Act, you can actually still get the forgiveness if you're able to hire employees back, right? So one of the ways that the PPP looks at this in terms of forgiveness is through the what it considers the FTE or the full-time employee, full-time equivalent workers. So I'll talk a little bit more about that, Laura, if you go to the next slide, what that is essentially. So while the full-time employee or full-time equivalent workers are not defined in the CARES Act, what they are is essentially employees who work 40 hours or more. So the idea is if an employer, as of February 15 of 2020, loses any sort of workers, full-time employees, and some play with part-time, also they're defined, then in order for the employer to have the loan under the PPE converted into a grant and eventually forgiven, that employer then has to hire employees back by December 31st. Okay, that's what we're referring to as a safe harbor. Now, the PPP Flexibility Act then expands upon that. So I put on the slide basically some of how the forgiveness will be calculated. What are the reference periods that an employer would be able to choose from? So there's a lot that goes into that, but that's just information that just summarizing that for now. And then on the next slide, Lori, I'm going to talk about more what those safe harbors are. So employers essentially complained after the PPP was enacted into law, that look, we can't hire, we're not able to hire people back. So we need some help in essentially being able to still ask for forgiveness, even if we're not able to hire employers back. So what the Flexibility Act is, and through some SBA guidance, essentially expanded what loan forgiveness is based on whether you can hire full-time equivalent workers back or not. So you can still qualify as an employer for forgiveness if the following bullet points, as I put on there, apply. So let's say December 31st, 2020 rolls around and you're still unable to hire an employee back. Then you can qualify if the employee was fired for cause, one, or the employee voluntarily resigned. Employee also requested some sort of a reduction in hours or reduction in wages. That would still qualify an employer for forgiveness under the PPP. Also, if an employer offered an employee who resigned or was fired a rehire and the employee refuses that, then you have to document that, obviously notify the unemployment insurance office, and that would qualify an employer for forgiveness of the loan. And then the two that were added by the Flexibility Act is the inability to hire or rehire individuals, and the ability to hire similarly qualified employees. Now, the SBA is still trying to still need to clarify some of the meanings under this, but as the Flexibility Act provides, it's still just new law that's been enacted. And the last but not least, if an employer is unable to return to business or the revenue back to pre-COVID levels, then that employer can still qualify for some forgiveness as well. Or can you get to the next slide, please? I'm going to just with respect to the PPE, just wrap up with that there are some additional provisions under this Flexibility Act. As Tony was alluding to, essentially the employer now qualifies, whether the loan is forgiven or not, the employer qualifies for a deferral of the payroll taxes, i.e. the employer's share of the payroll taxes. So 50% will be now due on December 31st, 2021, and the other 50% December 2022. I'm not a tax attorney, as a disclaimer, but just to the extent that you want to participate in this, just seek tax help, and to make sure how you can do that. The other thing I wanted to point out with respect to the Flexibility Act provisions is the fact that penalties, again, there are penalties for criminal fraud or misrepresentation, and these are going to be real penalties. So in terms of misusing the funds, as Tony alluded to, obviously employers are cautioned not to do that. And there's more scrutiny with loans in excess of $2 million, as Mark and Solomon alluded to in their presentation. All right, so that's it for the PPP. There is actually, we'll go back one more slide, Lori. There is a proposal, again, as the COVID-19 sort of fallout continues to plague employers and businesses. There are some talks in Congress about additional money to be released. I'm not sure how that's going to play out. This is just a bill that was introduced on June 10, 2020 by some senators, but it hasn't really made waves yet, but I wanted to point that out to you. One last thing, though, that I failed to mention on the provisions of the PPP, if employers are looking to do this, employers can write off student loans that are paid on behalf of its employees. My understanding is it's up to $5,250, but again, seek some tax advice on this. But it is a good, if any employer is looking to provide some sort of a incentive for its employees and staying during this time frame, that's another good thing that is provided under the PPP and the CARES Act. All right, let me move on to Colorado specific. So there are some Colorado legislation, and again, this has continued to change and there's more to come. So a couple of things, prior to the COVID era, the wage and hour law statewide and Denver were increased. So just something to point out to employers into this forum. And you see the numbers out there, effective July 2020, so it's coming up. The other bill that was passed recently, I'm sure some of you heard about that, here in Colorado, was the Healthy Families and Workplaces Act. And again, it sort of mimics the FFC CRA on the federal side, but mandates it more for Colorado employers. And this does not have a sunset, so it starts. In other words, it wouldn't expire at the end of the year. This goes on in perpetuity because it's been enacted into law. You can see some of the provisions out there. It actually becomes effective, even though it was enacted recently. It doesn't go in effect until January of next year. There's some provisions about basic paid sick leave provided for employees if you don't currently have any. So this mandates that. There is no additional mandate if you're already providing that for your employees. Also, there's no payout upon termination. So there's some, you can see it there. There's some provisions that you need to be aware of on that as well. The other point I will make about as I mentioned, there are additional laws in Colorado that are being passed. One of the ones I just wanted to quickly mention is that as of now, employers cannot retaliate against workers who raise concerns about health and safety issues related to COVID-19. So, if an employee comes in and sort of whistleblows, it's essentially a pro-whistleblower law that was just passed in Colorado. So that might affect businesses. So there are quite a few laws on that, but again, just something I wanted to point out to the panel. I believe I just want to wrap up. There's a couple of websites that are very important. There are the EEOC guidelines about the pandemic preparedness in the workplace, what an employer can and cannot say or ask and do. So if you go to www.eeoc.gov, those provide additional information as well as the, there's also, I believe, the ADA website would also provide, Americans with Disabilities Act website would also provide some information on that as well as the Department of Labor. Those are just some websites that it's important to just frequent during this COVID-19 era to be on alert as to what laws and guidelines are being passed. So I think that's it for my time. I appreciate you listening, and I'll await any questions that the audience might have.
All right, thank you, Tony and Tayo. All speakers, let's be mindful of time so we are able to have enough time to answer the questions that the audience has. So we're gonna go into sustainable growth. And so we have Lee and Maricela, but to kick it off will be Lee.
Lee, you might be on.
We can't hear you. You might be on mute. Lee, are you there? All right, Jamal, maybe we can go to Maricela and we'll call Lee to see, make sure that.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah,
we can hear you.
we can hear you now, Lee.
Okay, sorry about that. So what I was saying, thank you so much, Jamal, and thank you, ALG, for having me. And so I wanted to briefly talk about why it's important to diversify your banking as it relates to regional banks versus community banks, as well as just touch on why it matters when it comes to lending, especially with the recent pandemic, COVID-19. So before I go into some of the advantages of community banks, I wanted to first define what is a regional bank and what is a community bank, and also just touch on some of the recent news concerning regional banks. So the Federal Reserve defines community banking organizations as those with less than 10 billion in assets, and regional banking organizations as those with total assets between 10 billion and 100 billion. And obviously, if you're right there, a little bit over 10 billion, I would still say it's a small community bank. And obviously, the examples as far as the larger banks are your Chase, your Wells Fargo's, and your U.S. banks. And when it comes to some of the recent news, I'm sure you guys all saw that Chase Bank, as well as Wells Fargo, stopped taking HELOC applications due to the pandemic. Pretty much, I keep hearing it's permanent. There's not really an end date. So there's a lot of things that I feel like a lot of the larger banks are going to follow suit. Chase Bank also raised its mortgage lending standards to require at least a 700 FICO score and a 20% down payment for new purchases. So mind you, the typical minimum FICO score is a 620 FICO score, and as little as 5% down on the conventional mortgage. So that's huge. I mean, you can just pretty much see that, you know, most of the mass market clients and, you know, a lot of the, you know, everyday working American are going to be singled out. You know, they're pretty much targeting exactly who they want to go after, the clients. And another thing that I've heard too is they've raised their credit qualifications as far as like loans and lending in general, where the grades are different, weighted different just because of the coronavirus. There was also a lawsuit against the four largest banks concerning the PPP program. Actually, many of the clients that I helped in regards to the application were a lot that were turned away from the bigger banks. So it's you know, it's very sad, I would say. I mean, and not to bash bigger banks, but I'm just saying, like, you know, you want to make sure that you're diversifying your bank and your bank with a smaller bank as well as a bigger bank, but you know, mainly just making sure that you're you know, you're keeping your options open. So I wanted to kind of move forward to some of the advantages of a community bank versus a regional bank. Lori, I don't know if you can change the slide.
Yes.
Right. Awesome. So community banks focus their attention on the needs of local families, businesses, and farmers, whereas larger banks are structured to place a priority on serving large corporations. Again, going back to the example of the PPP loans and you know, bigger banks pretty much lending to companies that are too big to fail. Community banks channel most of their loans to the neighborhoods where their depositors live and work, which helps to keep local communities vibrant and growing. Whereas many larger banks may take deposits in one state and lend in others. So with TBK Bank and as well as a lot of community banks, they will not lend in communities that they're not in, just because that money it can go back into communities that they're actually serving and in. Community bank officers are generally accessible to their customers on site, whereas larger banks are often headquartered in office suites away from the daily customer dealings. Community bank officers are deeply involved in local community events. So, I mean, we do a lot of philanthropy and really just giving back and, you know, doing a lot of volunteering. I know a lot of bigger banks are starting to do that, but community banks have always done that. Another thing, community banks understand the needs of small business owners. The concern for large banks, again, is corporate America. Community banks offer nimble decision-making on business loans because decisions are made locally. Whereas larger banks must often convene loan approval committees in another state. So what I mean by that is, you know, a lot of the deals, like I just had a recent deal where, you know, we brought in a construction business out in the Springs, and, you know, it was made by, you know, we had to consult with their SVP and EVP, and literally we drove to the location and looked at the properties and looked at what they were actually doing. And based on that, just assessment and looking at the business, we were able to lend to that business. So there's a lot more involvement and a lot more relationship. Community banks also really focus on the overall relationship and not just a FICO score. So another great example, I just brought in another company that does doors and it builds windows. And, you know, during obviously in the COVID-19 situation, they've maxed out a lot of their credit. And their FICO score happened to drop down to 650. So looking at the overall relationship, we looked at, you know, what they were doing in the past, looking at the financials, and based on that, we were able to extend a credit for about $50,000. So I mean, just to be able to help them move credit over and obviously just to make it through this pandemic. Obviously, just to close, having worked for both regional banks, I've worked for U.S. Bank, Wells Fargo, and obviously now Community Bank. I would say there's definitely a huge difference. It's all about the relationships. And, you know, the great thing with TBK Bank, you know, we do have 5 different divisions. We have the TBK Bank retail side, Triumph Commercial Finance. We have the Triumph Business Capital, Triumph Insurance, and Triumph Pay, where we focus a lot on truckers. And then obviously trying to offer payroll for the truck drivers. So that's pretty much all I have. I'm going to turn it over to Marisola.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, we are talking about some opportunities for different businesses. I wanted to go a little bit in deep and another alternative and another opportunity that we are having. It is that we are going to, in our partnership with the University of Denver, we are going to start to develop some classes in September of the year. Working with them, we are going to do 4 classes that are listed there: business plan development, financial plan development, legal pathway to develop business in Colorado, and marketing and branding your businesses. These classes are going to be 12 hours of instruction delivered in 4 weeks, 1 class of 3 hours each week. So in a month, you can be finishing each of them. In class, this is our classes designed to do with the same instructors that we have for our overall certificate of international trade that we offer in World Trade Center. So are the same instructors. This is focusing for not just for international businesses, it's for any kind of businesses. People that really want to start a business and have the idea can come to these classes and learn, and during the classes be developing their businesses with the help of the instructor. And we are having students, assistants also in class to help you to develop your plan. Like I said, it is in-class work and homework based on development of your business idea. At the end of each class, students will graduate with a finished business plan and DU certificate. So in our partnership with Denver University, what are we doing that for each of these classes, you will be able to receive a certificate from them for the development of these classes. And going to a little bit, just an example, Larry, if you can go. Yeah, thank you. So for example, the class of marketing and branding workshop class, we have been talking about how important it is to marketing your business, but at the same time to understand what are you doing. This class is going to touch base on the type of the culture, everything that needs to be that, why your company is important, how you're going to identify your clients, why the clients are going to choose your products and not other ones. So things that we'll be talking and branding your business, the importance of to say, you are not just selling a product, you are selling a story behind, especially in our communities. I am immigrant too. We have so many good stories behind of the things that in the products that we wanted to sell out there. So with these classes, you will be able to identify exactly what is you are selling, not just a product, it's just a whole story, and sometimes it's a culture and something that has much more value for other communities that just bring in a specific product. And purposes, why you are doing this, sometimes most of the businesses are coming behind that buying some stuff back in their home countries, helping your own community back home. That is something that it needs to be marketed, it's something that it needs to be teaching us, needs to be saying out there for people can understand that this is not just any kind of business. So what do we develop in these classes? We are starting in September. People that is in our program for the trade program that we have in World Trade Center, we are having some scholarship to attend to these classes. But at the same time, like I said, it's not just trade businesses. It needs to be for any kind of businesses. And we have many partnerships with other institutions that can help you if you can pay for the whole school, is the whole cost of these classes. But institutions like Emily Griffith that works with a lot of immigrants, they have scholarships to help you to pay part of this. So we work very close with them, and we have all the things. So we wanted to give this opportunity. If you are interested, please don't hesitate to contact us, and we can look at the way how to do it. I think this is a good opportunity for people to try to start to get in a higher level of learning, not just for their business. It's about a community to work at the university level and get any other engagements and network out there. So if you are interested in this also, you can contact us and we can see the ways that we can get you in these classes. It's going to be to help you to grow your knowledge in different ways. Please feel free to contact us, and we are very happy to be in this community and get it engaged. This opportunity, I really thank you, all of you, Papa, to get me in this network. It's important for us. We are working with these communities to make them grow. Today, we are proud to say that we now, at the middle of July, we are getting our first 3 participants of the program, getting their businesses already running. So it is a pathway to get there. If they success and they are in the market, it is a success for our program. So we are putting there much of the tools possible to make you succeed. So contact us. We are really happy to help you. And I am open for any questions that you can have. Thank you.
All right, I think at this time we are getting ready for raffle number 2. Thank you so much, Maricela. Thank you so much for Lee. Now, what I will say is we look forward to share with everybody the slides, but if you have not registered, there's no way we will have your information to send it to you. So please use the Eventbrite link so you can register. So I know we're getting a lot of requests of people wanting to get up the slide. That's the only way we can send it to you. Otherwise, please, if you have one of us, email us later, because there's a lot of valuable information. Now, I will turn it over to Miss Lori that will talk about Raffle 2. And after Raffle 2, that's when we're going to do the Q&A. So please have your questions slide in while we go through the raffle. Jamal, as the moderator, have all the questions, and we're going to go through it very fast because we want to make sure we answer everybody's questions. So Miss Lori, raffle number 2, take it over, please.
Great. Thank you, Papa. Thank you all panelists. Great information. I'm going to go really fast on this. Now, you guys, I have a new range. I have a new range of numbers. So chat this new range in, and Miriam will start the clock. And after I put the number up, you have 20 seconds. Ready? New range of numbers. 100 and 1,500. This is a big one.
Lori,
this is a big one.
Come on.
Start chatting your numbers. This is a big one. You win $500 in gift cards. Ready, Mary? Go. Oh, sorry.
So make sure you chat it to everyone.
One time, this time.
All right, stop. Look at all these prizes, amazing prizes. Okay, here's the number. Here's the number. Ready?
What's the winner?
Coming.
Lori, this is the, why do you give us this range if you know the number going to be 67? All right, well.
There's a lot of people on the call, amazing people, amazing gifts, so.
And Lori, who are the organizations that donate this prize, please?
Same organizations, Midwest One Bank, World Trade Center, Denver, the African Leadership Group, woo,
yes.
Empowering Community Entrepreneurs, and TBK Bank. Thank you. You guys are amazing.
All right, thank you. Now we'll turn it over to Jamal. By now, he should have all the questions and speakers. If you can just get to the point to the question so we have enough time to go everybody's questions. So Jamal, I'll turn it over to you.
Yes, thank you all for joining again. Thank you for all the panelists. Great information. So the first question is actually for Maricela, and it says, does the Global Trade Center Denver only help on import, export business? Do they extend your services to other areas?
Well, yeah, our expertise is in import and export, though, like I said, some of the classes are open. The classes that I talked with the University of Denver and the Google training are open for any kind of business. The program itself to bring a person from their idea business to the market is for import and export. But I wanted to mention something. In this year and a half working with different partnerships and companies, I have a list of many institutions that are helping immigrants in another type of businesses. I'm going to send this to Lori, so I give this information to her. This list of institutions have help and other programs for other type of businesses that I think it would be important for you. Is institutions like Focus Point. They have an excellent program for people who want to develop restaurants or want to do a food cart. They have their own restaurant where people is trained how to attend people and everything. So, and Emil Griffith has many areas helping people to create their business too. So I'm going to send this list to Lori. If somebody else is interested in other type of business that is not import and export, they can join this other program. But our business plan and all the classes that we're doing with Denver University are open for any type of businesses.
Okay, great, thank you. One more question for you, Maricela.
Sure.
Does the World Trade Denver monitor areas of unmet need, clear opportunities in certain marketplaces so that an inspiring entrepreneur might get a sense of what solutions can be developed to solve those problems?
Yeah, what we do in terms of import and export, we have some help to do market research. The thing is, we need to start, the program starts with people having the idea, discovered already for the business. So our goal is to try to guide them from there. They need to have the idea, because if we have some markets already identified that have some needs, it will be type of a business that we will be developing because it's an opportunity, right? So our program is going, you need to have the idea, you need to have at the beginning, identify at least part of the business in terms of the needs. If you discover that in your home country, somebody's needing some product from here, or you wanted to bring some product from your country to the US, because you know people in your community is asking and demanding this type of product, we can help on that. But identifying the needs is not the core of the program. You need to come with that idea, at least develop in some sense of how it's going to work, and we can help you to develop the business model and the business plan.
Excellent. This question is for Solomon and Mark. The original guidelines told PPP applicants to go to their own bank, with whom the business already has a relationship, but many banks fail to accommodate their own customers in that regard. Does Midwest One Bank accept PPP applications from businesses without an existing banking relationship with you?
Solomon, you want to jump on that?
Yes, so, Solomon, you might need to unmute, but yes, Mark, go ahead.
Yeah, we have accepted applications in the communities that, at first, I will be totally honest with you, we did only do certain existing clients, but until that period of time came when they did the second round, when we knew we had enough funding for more people, we opened the opportunity to people outside our existing client base. We wanted to serve our own people first. I know that seems a little selfish, but now we've expanded that realm to include other people. And you know, with the time frame, I don't know exactly the number that we've actually taken in with the second round, but it's a good number. And that didn't really commit to a point where we actually needed them to have a relationship, an ongoing relationship. We were trying to serve the needs of the community, that people couldn't go to a certain bank because they had that same restrictions that we had earlier. Again, it was one of those things, we opened the door because we heard the same thing. As a community bank, you want to serve the people of your community, and we opened that door to allow people to come in and register under our website platform. So you could just go online and go through that system there, and then we would accept the application from our website. So, do you want to add anything?
Actually, I'll have Solomon answer this question, and this is okay. This one will be for you, Solomon.
That's
What
right.
is the average processing time for the PPP loan if you have W-2 income and a 1099 income? How is the 1099 income factor in determining the loan?
So our average turnaround time initially was, the first round, we worked really hard on setting up the processes. First was client key. Most banks didn't have a process, so it was all manual. It was slow. I have to admit that it was taking an average 3 to 5 business days. Then on the next round, the bank invested in a technology called NewGen. It's a software that allowed clients to apply online, submit, and then also get local assistance by sending in their supporting documents directly to a local lender if you're non-customer. And this process completely speeded it up to get a PPP number from the SBA to Mark might agree with me. I think it ended up being max of 2 days. It was extremely fast on average. Right, Mark?
That is correct. And then you also mentioned the 1099 for sole proprietorships and or contractors, et cetera. There is provisions allowed for them to receive funding under the PPP program as well.
Yeah, we created a special worksheet to help with that we sent to a client. And obviously they have to refer to their, they have to have filed a tax return for 2019 or have some kind of supporting documents. But yes, we provided the tools so they can just plug in the numbers and quickly figure out what they qualify for the loan amount.
Okay, thank you. So it says for the GAP fund, can an employer only request grant and not the loan? And that will be open to anyone from the, so Rosie, a garage, whoever wants to answer that one.
Jamal, can you repeat the question, please?
Yes, so it says for the GAP fund, can an employer only request grant and not the loan?
Yes, you can apply for both the grant and the loan. And as I said initially, the needs of every individual business will be allocated based on, what are the reasons for them having issues right now? Were they closings? Were they, lack of customers? What were the dates and things like that? So the consideration will be for both the loan and the grant, and I can relate to that, right? If I can get a grant instead of getting a loan, obviously I'm gonna prefer to get a grant, but it's going to be the the analysis will be done on an individual basis, based on the business, based on the product, service, things like that.
Okay, right. One more question for Rosie. Will nonprofit organizations be eligible for funding through the funding from Energize Colorado?
Yes, one portion of these will be done through for 501c3s that were left out on the PPP initially, as you may recall. So definitely, if you are a 501c3 or a 501c6 or a nonprofit organization, you can apply for this as well.
Okay, excellent. And this one is for the whole panel. So whoever from the panel wants to answer this one, feel free to do so. It says, can you please enlighten us about the Colorado Public Benefit Corporation, PBC, and what is your personal experience working with providing loans to PBC entitles in Colorado, or entities, sorry.
So I'll take a quick stab at that just as an overview. I mean, obviously the PBC, the Colorado Public Benefits Corporation, it's a new type of entity that a company can choose to set up as. So what that is, it combines a nonprofit with a for-profit entity. There's certainly some tax implications on that, but it allows a corporation to have a nonprofit arm sort of rolled into that same entity. All I can say is that it's a new form of entity. I personally have one client that I'm working with. Usually And well, not usually, but in my experience, that's been construction, real estate companies that might want to do that. But it's open to any company. So and as far as grants and loans, I would guess my understanding is that they would also be allowed to opt into the grants and or loans, as they are recognized as an entity in Colorado at least.
Thank you, Tayo. So let's keep this moving. So the question here is for Tony. So it states, have quarterly tax payment deadlines been changed as well, or is Q2 still owed September 2020? This one's for Tony.
Okay, thank you. I'm thinking that these relief programs, as Internal Revenue has said in its outlines, actually for businesses, what they are trying to say is this. Even though the forms that we had for the first quarter is the same, but what they're saying is that they're gonna, there's gonna be a new form on the 941, which I believe it might be either the second quarter, which we are starting in June, at the end of July. So at the moment, they are saying that if you're a business owner and for some reason your Social Security payments have been sort of affected by this COVID, then you can actually defer your payment to December 2022, yeah, whether you got a loan or not. Initially, they were saying that if you get a loan, you don't really qualify, but I think that there's a new update that says that once you are actually affected, you have the right to defer your loan payment, your Social Security payment or the employment taxes payment up to the period of December 2022.
All right, excellent. One more question for you, Tony. I am a new business owner. Where do I go or whom do I contact to pay July 15th taxes?
Okay, thank you very much. These taxes are not just paid. You have to run a payroll. So if you're an employer and you set up a proper payroll system, you can pay it through the Internal Revenue Service. There's a federal tax deposit account where you can enroll. So the payroll system can enroll you, or you can go to the IRS.gov website to enroll as a business owner. So you have to have a proper payroll system set up. And through the setup, then you can actually do where to pay your taxes.
Okay, thank you. This one will be open up to the panel for anyone who would like to answer it. So this is the question. I received a grant from the SBA. Are there more grants that I can apply for?
I think I can take that one. You know, there's, and probably Jamal and Mark have more knowledge about this, but PPP is still happening. You know, it really depends on which grant or which loan you applied for the SBA. But one of the things that we're considering in these new funds through Energize Colorado and the Climate Fund is, as long as you disclose, you know, the amount of money that you receive from some of those federal agencies, funds, I would see why not apply for whatever you can receive for your business, right? My point in saying this is, you may have received only $1,000, but you know, you were closed for 4 months, right? Maybe you have only one employee. Is it yourself? I don't really know, depending on which case we're talking about. But I think the most important part is that you keep an open mind, and you know, some of these programs, you know, the criteria is changing day by day. You know, new sources of assistance for businesses are popping up in different areas. So my recommendation on this question is go ahead and do it, and be very honest about disclosing what kind of support or what kind of grant, what kind of funding or loan you received in the past. And, you may be into that criteria for additional funds for your business. Especially if you are the type of company that is providing employment for different communities, different minority communities. It's very important that you try to see what is going to work and what is going to help your business remain in business. So that would be my piece of recommendation.
Thank you. This question here will be for Lee and Agraj. Is there a deadline to apply for the forgiveness of the PPP? Or when do you apply for the forgiveness once you have the PPP loan?
I think, yeah, I would pass it on to Lee because CEDS Finance does not do PPP loans. But I want to piggyback on the previous question here regarding the grants. Right now, City of Aurora had announced the grants, but then it was due June 22nd, but I would encourage you to keep an eye open on city and county governments to apply, announce the grant programs. They come on a frequent basis, so keep an eye on that, and we'll be sharing those information from our social media website as well. So do follow us on that. But since CEDS does not do PPP loans, I would refer this, pass it on to Lee for this current question.
All right, Lee. All right, we'll come back to Lee. This one's for Tayo. Can I reapply? Okay, go ahead, Lee.
No, I was going to say, I think that's more for Solomon or Mark as far as the PPP. I mean, we processed them, but I mean, we had a team assigned in processing the PPP applications, but that's, we had a different department as far as handling the forgiveness aspect of that.
Okay, just to give that, I'll cover a couple because I've seen a couple in the chat. So deadline is a hard deadline for Tuesday, the 30th of this month. The forgiveness applications we'll start taking in as our institution, probably the 15th of July. Has there been a deadline? I also saw that noted in there as well. There has not been a set deadline on the last day you could apply for forgiveness. Again, this is kind of an open-ended thing that I think the SBA is yet to determine because there's so many people participating, and they don't really know, exactly when this program the door might shut on it, because if we go through round 2 on this COVID and the economic impact is there, forgiveness might be, take a while.
Yeah, I've had a couple of dates thrown out there in different communications. There was a November 30th date for forgiveness. And I think what they were anticipating, because of the extension of the 24-week period, that they allow people as much time as possible to take advantage of the covered period. So I think it's hard to set a deadline when every business received the loan funding at a different date. But I would say towards November, December is what I've heard. I've seen some communications.
And just a quick mention on that too. So we keep talking about the 8-week and the 24-week extension due to the Flexibility Act. Companies can still elect, it's my understanding that companies can still elect forgiveness under that 8-week program. So if you'd received your PPP loan or grant way back in April and you've exhausted that, there's really nothing stopping you. And I believe it was originally a 10-week time frame to actually submit that that forgiveness application. So you can still elect to go ahead with respect to the 8-week covered period. You can still elect for forgiveness then. With respect to if you do, you could also elect to do the 24-week, which would be due sometime before December or after December 2020, depending on the deadline that the SBA clarifies on that.
And Tayo, the same thing applies for the term. Originally, it's 2 years. You could stick with the 2 years. You could ask and request for the 5.
Correct.
Right. Thank you. Thank you. We'll do one more question just due to time, but also I thank you all for also replying to all of our individuals that are joining us in the chat. So I appreciate